What is up, everybody? Welcome to the main event deep dive for UFC Columbus, and welcome to the MMA Engine YouTube channel. We're going to be breaking down this main event for UFC Columbus. We're going to talk through all the stats, talk about it from a betting perspective, and then give our final prediction on the fight as well. And as always, I am here with Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, you looking forward to this main event?
I'm really looking forward to this main event. Heavyweight main events are always a treat. We just got off of one on Saturday that was fun to watch. I mean, Aspinall Volkov was great. Really got to see a guy in Aspinall who's young, who's on an upward trajectory in the division here, and is looking like he's probably going to be challenging for a title sometime soon. And now here we got a really good matchup between Daukaus and Blaydes here, two young heavyweights. I mean, Daukaus, 32 years old. Blaydes right now is 31 years old. These are babies for heavyweights. Another couple of fantastic prospects. Can't wait to chop it up with you.
Cannot wait as well. Should be a fun main event for as long as it lasts. Do you want to shout out the chat before we get started? If you guys can leave a like on the video, subscribe here to the MMA Engine. I think we're like 15 or 14 subs away from 300. So if you're not subscribed, hit the sub button. It does help us out a lot. Do you want to shout out first one in the chat? We have Chris. What is up, Chris? How you doing? Daz Files in the chat as well. We got Lou Betcha. Shout out to Lou Betcha hanging out. Grateful Dude in the chat. BA in the chat as well. And yeah, I say we get right into it, and we'll start with the tail of the tape. We have Curtis Blaydes, 31 years old, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach, going against Chris Daukaus, 32 years old, 6'3" with a 76-inch reach. Blaydes is going to be 1 year younger. It's going to be Blaydes who's also going to have a height advantage of 1 inch and then a reach advantage of 4 inches as well. Curtis Blaydes is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, knocking out an extremely handsome Shamil Abdurakhimov, knocking out Junior Dos Santos, winning a decision against Alexander Volkov, getting knocked out by Derek Lewis, and then winning against Jairzinho Rozenstruik by decision. As far as Chris Daukaus, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights as well, knocking out Parker Porter, knocking out Rogerio Nascimento, knocking out Alexei Oleinik, knocking out a very handsome Shamil as well, and then getting knocked out by Derek Lewis. So, yeah, Weezy, we'll start with the experience stats. And I guess what stuck out to me right away was the age. I mean, it seems like Daukaus is kind of much younger than Blaydes, but it's actually Daukaus that's going to be the older fighter in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't see a lot of 31 and 32-year-old heavyweights that have racked up, like Blaydes 10 wins, Daukaus 4 wins. This is not a young man's division by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, back in the day, I think Couture won a heavyweight championship in his mid-40s, so we've always had older champions in this division here. So these guys are both young, and they're both really experienced for being on the young side of 30 here. Both of these guys, you're talking 16 pro fights for Daukaus and 19 for Blaydes, and Blaydes has almost been in the cage about 100 more minutes than Daukaus. You look at a 16-fight career for Chris Daukaus, and the average fight time, Brady, is less than 5 minutes per fight. So obviously a dude that gets in and out of there, a finisher, and he gets finished when he loses. And then Curtis Blaydes takes his time a little bit more, average fight time just under 9 minutes as a pro. These guys are, about 6 months apart in terms of mixed martial arts experience as a pro. So the experience numbers are real close, but they definitely lean Blaydes with 3 more fights and about 100 more minutes in the cage. And then you go down to the UFC experience, and you see that obviously Blaydes has fought a much higher percentage of his pro career at the UFC level here, with 14 out of 19 pro fights being at the UFC level. That's over 75%. So it's, obviously we do have a significant experience advantage here for Curtis Blaydes, in addition to a 4-inch reach advantage, 1 year younger, and a 1-inch height advantage here. And then we look, I mean, like Chris Daukaus in 5 fights, only 17 minutes of cage time in the UFC. That's stupid, man. Less than 3.5 minutes per fight. So this guy is absolutely getting in and out of there, whether he's winning or losing at the UFC level as well as at the regional scene level. And for Blaydes, we see an average fight time over 10 minutes here. But yeah, about 125 more minutes in the UFC cage, 9 more UFC fights, 3 more pro fights, almost 100 more minutes in the pro cage, an inch taller, a 4-inch reach advantage, 1 year younger in age. So yeah, definitely a lot of advantages there for Blaydes. And even in the finish stats, Blaydes is a very good finisher, finishing 2/3, 10 of his 15 wins, all of them by knockout, and 5 of his 10 UFC wins inside the distance by knockout. And Chris Daukaus has won all 4 of his UFC wins by knockout and 92% of his 12 professional wins by knockout. So neither one of these guys has ever subbed anybody. Daukaus has been subbed once, but he's been knocked out in 3 of his 4 losses, and Blaydes has been knocked out in all 3 of his losses in 7 combined losses, all 7 of them inside the distance. And then 10 and 11 is 21 out of 27 of these guys' professional wins coming inside the distance. So, yeah, this is a violent spot, a 5-round heavyweight main event. Can we put the violence ticker up there? Do we have that available here on the new MMA Engine YouTube channel, Brady? Have we made those upgrades yet? Because here at the MMA Engine, we are striving to give you the best in content, the best in analysis, the best in data science, and the best in tickers going across the bottom of your YouTube screen. We're trying to bring you the best of everything here, you guys.
Let's go. Yeah, there it is, the violence sticker. And yeah, rightfully so. I mean, you talk about the finish rates of both guys. Curtis Blaydes, very solid finisher, 67%. And then he also uses that wrestling as a weapon. He uses that cardio as a weapon. Some really good cardio for the heavyweight division. We'll talk more about that. And then Daukaus has been to 1 decision in his entire career. He's been to 1 third round, and he did win that decision, but 91% finish rate, 83% knockout rate. This guy has a ton of power. We've seen it in the UFC, knocking out Parker Porter is not an easy thing to do. He knocked out Rogerio Nascimento in 45 seconds, knocked out Alexei Oleinik, knocked out the very handsome Shamil. He's shown a ton of power. He's shown really fast hands, and, guys really have problems dealing with that in the fights. So, yeah, I think violence is written all over this fight. 7 combined losses. Neither guy's won a decision. I'd be shocked if Chris Daukaus won a decision. I could see Blaydes winning a decision, but I still think this fight does finish one way or another, Weezy. But let's talk about the striking stats a little bit here. So obviously we have a wrestler versus a striker. I think Blaydes has improved his striking quite a bit, and he's looking good in terms of the striking. But Curtis Blaydes is going to want to get this fight down to the mat, because when it's on the feet, Chris Daukaus is very live for a knockout. So let's talk about these numbers for Daukaus a little bit, Weezy.
Yeah, so both of these guys have, extremely impressive striking numbers here. You got Blaydes landing literally more than twice as many significant strikes per minute than he's absorbing, which is a fantastic ratio, especially at this division. He lands 3.44 and he absorbs 1.65. 51.5% striking accuracy. He's landed only 1 knockdown in 14 fights, and that is averaging out to 0.1 knockdowns per 15 minutes. We see that Blaydes is boasting a 59.7% striking defense. That's very good. He's been knocked down 3 times in 14 fights, and that is averaging out to 0.3 knockdowns allowed per 15 minutes. And he's getting knocked down on 1.22% of the significant strikes that he absorbs. Now, Chris Daukaus also has an over 2-to-1 ratio when it comes to significant strikes landed to significant strikes absorbed, as he lands 7.71 and absorbs 3.51. And then you look at the volume too, right? 14.5 significant strike attempts per minute, and his opponents are throwing about 9. So, he's obviously out-voluming his opponents at a very impressive ratio, as is Blaydes, just not as good of a ratio as Daukaus here, as Blaydes throws 6.68 and his opponents throw 4.1. Daukaus has a very nice striking defense, sitting right around 62%. He's been knocked down once in 5 fights, and he's absorbing 0.88 knockdowns per 15 minutes. But the biggest number that we cannot ignore here is the knockdowns per total significant strikes landed for Chris Daukaus. He's landing a knockdown on 4.55% of the significant strikes that he lands. That would probably be somewhere around 1 out of 21 significant strikes landed. Odds are 50-50 that he's landing a knockdown. So that's terrifying power in his hands. He's done it over and over and over again. He knocked down the very handsome Shamil Abdul-Rahimov not once but twice. He knocked down Nascimento, I believe, twice. He knocked down Parker Porter. This guy really does hit hard. So I just think Oleinik just kind of didn't go down. That's why he didn't get a knockdown in that fight. But you're talking about a guy who is landing. So it's over 5 knockdowns here. I think it's 6 knockdowns in 5 fights for Chris Daukaus. So very, very impressive power numbers right there. But, when you've looked at Curtis Blaydes striking over the last couple of fights, you can see that he can hang on the feet with guys like Derek Lewis. If he hadn't a shot in for that takedown, he won every striking exchange prior to that. So, you saw him winning minutes on the feet against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. He knocked out Junior Dos Santos, one of the greatest boxers in the history of the division. And, I think that's probably one of the main reasons here why Curtis Blaydes is such a big favorite over somebody as explosive and dangerous as Chris Daukaus. And that's because when you look at the most, the opponent in Blaydes' past that mirrors Daukaus's abilities the most, it's that Dos Santos fight. And I mean, wow, he looked great on the feet versus Dos Santos. So you do see a guy here. It's easy to say that this is a striker versus grappler matchup, but these guys are both very well rounded. I think if Blaydes takes down Daukaus should be able to survive there and use his Brazilian jiu-jitsu to either threaten with submissions to try to get sweeps or to try to get back up to his feet. And I also believe that in the standing exchanges, Curtis Blaydes isn't going to be as overmatched as some people might think he will be against somebody as fast as Chris Daukaus with his hands. So, I think Blaydes' striking is better than people think it is, and that Daukaus' grappling is better than people think it is.
Yeah, Blaydes has some very good striking. Like you mentioned, the Dos Santos fight, that really, really impressed me. I was not expecting that at all. He didn't even have to take Santos down to beat him there, and I was not expecting that. And like you said, the Lewis fight, he went out there and he was like clearly beating Lewis. In the first round, he actually outlanded Lewis 26-5, and then he went in for that sloppy takedown and got knocked out. But yeah, I think you take a look at who has knocked down Curtis Blaydes. Derek Lewis knocked him down. Francis Ngannou knocked him down, and then Mark Hunt knocked him down as well. He's getting knocked down by very hard hitters, and Chris Daukaus is a very hard hitter as well. I mean, those power numbers, you just don't see numbers like that really ever. But I feel like a big talking point of this fight is going to be those takedowns of Curtis Blaydes. I mean, this guy is the best wrestler in the heavyweight division, and what I like about Blaydes is he trains at Team Elevation, right? He has very good cardio for the heavyweight division. He did look like he slowed down a little bit in that Volkov, and by a little bit, I mean, kind of a lot, but that was Volkov getting up like 16 times in that fight, something crazy like that. So I think, the big question is, can Daukaus stuff the takedowns? I know on paper, Daukaus has a 100% takedown defense, but I know for a fact he's never fought anybody like Curtis Blaydes. It's a very intriguing matchup. So let's talk about those grappling numbers a little bit, Weezy.
Yeah, and before we do, let's just talk about the fact that Curtis Blaydes took down Alexander Volkov how many times? And that fight went 5 full rounds, and Volkov was actually getting off on him in the 5th. And all it took was Tom Aspinall to get 2 takedowns, and then he gets the first straight arm lock that I've seen since judo competitions when I was 8 years old with white belts. So, that was just wild to see how good Aspinall is and how quickly he got rid of Volkov in there when you see a fantastic grappler like Blaydes struggle keeping him down for 5 full rounds. So big ups, Tom Aspinall. What a performance on Saturday. But my God, you want to talk about striker versus grappler. This is what you see when you look at that first line there of grappling statistics offense. Curtis Blaydes, 115 takedown attempts in 14 fights. Chris Daukaus, 0 takedown attempts in 5 fights. So which one of these guys do we think is going to grapple? It's probably going to be Blaydes here. But these numbers, all kidding aside, are really fantastic, especially in the heavyweight division. To be pushing the kind of pace that Curtis Blaydes pushes, it's something that you see out of a very small percentage of the heavyweight division. Maybe guys like Romanov, Espino, and Blaydes, I mean, I think you can count them on one hand, are the kind of guys who are going to attempt more than 2 or 3 takedowns in a round. And Curtis Blaydes is one of them. So, and we see that he's getting the takedowns. Not only is he spamming them at double-digit rates per fight, but he's getting over 50% of them. He's averaging 6.27 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he's out-controlling his opponents 54% to 2%. That is a 27-to-1 ratio of control time for to control time against. Every 1 second of control time that Curtis Blaydes' opponents get against Curtis Blaydes gets 27 seconds against them. So if Curtis Blaydes doesn't like how it's going on the feet, he is a master of getting the fight to the mat and winning minutes there and getting finishes there. This guy's never subbed anybody, but he's knocked out 10 of his 15 pro wins. And I guarantee outside of that Junior Dos Santos fight, it's pretty much all of them on the mat via ground and pound. So Blaydes has been taken down 4 out of 6 times. But, you know, in that 150 minutes that he's been in the UFC cage, that would mean that he has been controlled for less than 3 minutes out of 148 on 4 takedowns in 6 attempts. So we're not going to really see Daukaus try takedowns here. He's going to try to keep this on the feet. But we have to keep in mind that Chris Daukaus is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he's been studying BJJ for years. So even if Curtis does get him down, and we haven't seen anybody do that yet to Curtis Blaydes in the UFC, we have to assume that that Daukaus being a black belt, that he should be able to threaten from his back as long as he's not taken down via body lock takedowns or, you know, judo trips or sweeps where he winds up flat on his back and having Blaydes' full weight on top of him. You know, if Blaydes is shooting single legs and double legs and having a difficult time getting Chris down, Chris should be able to either work back to his feet or threaten with submissions to try to get some sweeps, or potentially just, you know, work back up to his feet and get the fight back at boxing range. So, you know, like I said before, you know, this should be Daukaus on the feet and it should be Blaydes on the ground, but it's not as simple as that. Both of these guys are very well-rounded, very well-tested, and they're both in their early 30s, so we can probably assume that both of these guys are still making improvements at this point in their career.
Yeah, I do think Daukaus has made some improvements as well. And that's kind of the tricky thing about this, because we have not seen his takedown defense tested in a long time. Went back and watched some earlier fights of Daukaus from like 2015, 2016, and he's getting taken down like very easily. He doesn't really have anything to offer on the mat. And I actually saw him get submitted by Sean Teed with an Americana, but you know, you can't really look into that too much since it was 2016, you know, years ago. You got to think he has made improvements, but I don't think, you know, any amount of improvements is going to be enough to stuff these takedowns of Chris Daukaus, or I mean of Curtis Blaydes here. Cannot talk, but yeah, Curtis Blaydes is going to be by far the best wrestler. I mean, you can't get, you know, higher level wrestling than Curtis Blaydes here, and I think Daukaus is going to have a tough time stuffing these takedowns. Another question mark is going to be the cardio of Chris Daukaus, because you go back and watch these past fights of Daukaus, and he's slowing down, you know, in the first round, late first round, second round, third round. He's slowing down a lot in these fights, but again, like this is a different Chris Daukaus. We have not seen him extended in some time. I think it was a couple fights ago where he quit being a full-time police officer to focus fully on MMA, and since then we do see that, you know, Daukaus is looking in much better shape. So maybe that could help his cardio out a little bit, but from what I've seen, his cardio looks really bad when it does get extended, and I think it's if Curtis Blaydes can make him work, I think he's going to tire out pretty fast. But I do want to see the weight of Chris Daukaus. So Chris Daukaus weighed in at 235 pounds against Lewis and 231 against Shamil. And that's a concern because Curtis Blaydes, he weighs in around like 260. Let me take a look. Last fight against Rosenstruck, Blaydes weighed in at 261. Against Lewis, he weighed in at 259. Against Volkov, he weighed in at 261. So he's going to be a good 25 pounds undersized. And that's just another reason to, think, Blaydes is going to have success in terms of getting takedowns and, controlling Daukaus as well. So I think size is a factor. And on top of that, Blaydes is going to have both a height and reach advantage, a weight advantage, and the cardio advantage for sure. So it's an interesting fight, but I think Blaydes has a clear path to victory here, but you cannot count out a guy like Chris Daukaus with the power This guy has legit power, and we have seen Blaydes knocked out before.
Yeah, we sure have. And when I went back and I watched all of Chris Daukaus's UFC tape before we started today, and it didn't take long. You can enjoy that in about 12 to 13 minutes. But Daukaus has dealt with some big dudes. I mean, like with Parker Porter and Rodrigo Nascimento, you have two of not just the biggest asses in the UFC, but the biggest asses like in the entire world, gigantic asses, heavyweight asses, real big power below that waist. And I was like, all right, I want to see how he deals with the takedown attempts of Porter and Nascimento here, guys with gigantic legs that can power through you. And no takedown attempts in either of those fights from either of those guys. They were happy to stand at range against Chris Daukaus, and neither of them shot. So it would have been nice to see, because like Blaydes, he doesn't have that giant Parker Porter or Rodrigo Nascimento ass, but he's got that that 6'4" frame. He doesn't really have a lot of fat on him, and he's just a big dude with really powerful legs. He can drive through here too and get these takedowns, but we just don't know how Daukaus is going to look on the takedown defense at this level, and not just at the UFC level. We're talking about one of the top two heavyweights probably in the entire world right now in their ability to get takedowns. Curtis Blaydes is one of them, and so this is not just Chris Daukaus's takedown defense. This is Chris Daukaus's takedown defense against an elite guy, and we just don't know how he's going to respond. He's faced one takedown in 5 attempts, or no, I'm sorry, 2. Yeah. One of them was against Derek Lewis, funny enough. The other one was against Olynyk. So it's hard to know, how it's going to hold up, once he does get taken down, and how the get-up game or the defensive jiu-jitsu is going to look once he is put on his back by Blaydes, because eventually it's going to happen here, unless Chris just lands a big shot early and finishes this one.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing to know, because you go back and watch some of these old fights, and he has a non-existent get-up game. He's really doing nothing off his back. But again, you can make improvements, and especially a young guy in Chris Daukaus. So I think we could see some improvements there. Effie asking a question here: having the bigger cage is worth anything? I think the bigger cage is going to favor Daukaus, and Daukaus said himself in an interview that he does prefer the bigger cage. Do you take into account the small cage or big cage in this factor?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think these guys are both well-rounded, but, Blaydes is just as athletic as Daukaus. He'll be able to dance around and move in the big cage just as well as Daukaus can. But, yeah, Effie brings up a good point, because you would think that it's going to be Blaydes trying to kind of pressure Daukaus, head him off, back him up against the cage so that he could shoot those double legs and potentially get him to the ground. And, and I think, yeah, the bigger cage here does give Chris Daukaus a little more room to work, a little more room to kind of use that lateral motion, move side to side, not get backed up against the fence here and find himself in a place where Curtis is going to shoot those single legs and double legs. So, yeah, I think it does matter, and I think it does favor Daukaus just a little bit here.
Yeah, the chat is blowing up. Everybody's saying Parker is thick, and Lou says better ask Parker Porter or Laredo.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, better Laredo 10 times out of 10. I mean, but bigger, my fucking God, it's Parker Porter, dude. Like I say, like I was saying, Alir Latifi's head at his own orbit.
Yeah.
Parker Porter's got entire universes, rotating around that ass of his. It's got its own gravitational pull.
His legs are huge. His legs
are huge, dude. It's so fucking crazy. Like that. I mean, I don't even know if that dude can wear pants. Like he probably has to walk around in a fucking cape or a muumuu. I don't even. Those legs are huge, dude. Seriously,
ginormous, but crazy. So the strength of schedule. Let's talk about that a little bit, because on paper it looks pretty close here.
Yeah, it does, right? I mean, when you look at those ratios, 2.1 for Blaydes overall, 2.19 for Daukaus, and then the total fights, 10.2 for Daukaus, 11.5 for Blaydes. You see that it's very close overall. And I think the wins is the most important thing to look at. What's the quality of opponent that these guys are beating? That's the one thing I think you can look at sometimes to see, all right, is it really a step-up fight for either one of these guys? And you look at the average records here, and better ratio for Daukaus, more experienced opponent for Blaydes. But yeah, the average opponent that Blaydes is beating has 7 wins and almost 4 losses, while for Daukaus, it's a little less experienced, but a better ratio of 4.75 to 2.25. both of these guys are losing to studs. So it really doesn't tell us much. So let's go over to that advanced stats tab here. And I wanted to bring up something here in Curtis Blaydes' career. There are 4 fights in the UFC where Curtis Blaydes did not get a takedown. And in those fights, he's 2-2. It's the Derek Lewis fight, the Junior Dos Santos fight, the Francis Ngannou fight, the second one, and it was the Daniel Omielanczek fight. So he got a win by decision over Omielanczek. He lost by knockout to Ngannou. He got a win. He got a knockout win over Dos Santos, and he got a loss against Derek Lewis. So when this guy gets takedowns, right, he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-1 with a no contest. And what was the Adam Milstead no contest for? Was that weed or was that like performance enhancing stuff?
I don't remember. If I had to take a guess, it'd probably be weed, right?
I think it might have been weed, but I don't want to say one way or another. But we can like literally say, let's say that was for weed. When this guy gets a takedown, he is 9-1, and the only guy he lost to was Francis Ngannou. So that's how dominant Curtis Blaydes is when he gets his wrestling working. And you look at those wins when he gets takedowns. 379 seconds out of 900 control time over Rosenstrike. Almost 80% control time against Volkov with just under 1,200 seconds of control time out of 1,500. 367 seconds of control time out of 442 against Abdur Rahimov. 704 out of 900 for Willis. And then it's 465 out of 776. 575 out of 900. 113 out of 399. 305 out of 359. Dude, I wish I had actually done the calculations, because you would see that when this guy wins fights and he gets takedowns, he's getting like 2/3 control time, and he is absolutely dominating every single grappling exchange here. So if you're on that Chris Daukaus side, you really do have to be very confident that this guy is not only going to be able to stuff takedown number 1, but number 2, number 3, number 4, because you look at the takedown attempts in these fights where he's winning the fights. 6 takedown attempts, 6 takedowns attempts, 10, 4, 14, 4, 11, 5, 25, and 6. Those are the fights that he's won where he's gotten takedowns. So really, we do have to be very confident, if we're on that Daukaus side, that this guy's going to be able to keep this fight standing.
Yeah, those are some crazy numbers for Blaydes. This guy's nuts, and he's a heavyweight, and he has great cardio. It's just you don't see that much in the heavyweight division. I mean, you talked about Juan Espino, guys like that, but they don't have the cardio like a Blaydes to do it 5 rounds. So it's just crazy that he can do that. So what does everybody in the chat think in terms of a betting perspective? We'll talk about the odds a little bit. Anything sticking out for some props, we'll talk about that. But we do see the line here. It looks like Blaydes opened up -300, and he is currently -400. And Chris Daukaus opened up +250, and he's currently +330. So that's about an 80% indication for Blaydes winning this fight. And what are your thoughts on the line here? I mean, I get the line, but this is a heavyweight fight. I've been very confident in a Blaydes fight before. And more particularly in that Derek Lewis fight, where I thought Blaydes had a huge advantage. In terms of getting the takedowns, I thought he'd be able to take down Derek Lewis, who has bad takedown defense, and Blaydes was content to strike with him. And then when he went in for a takedown, he got clipped there. And I kind of see the same thing here. I'm very confident in Blaydes. I think he should get it done. But Chris Daukaus is very fast, very powerful, has a ton of power, and that kind of scares me, laying a price tag like that in heavyweight. What are your thoughts on line here, Weezy?
Yeah, I think that it's kind of like dog or pass here. I think Blaydes wins this fight. I'm a big fan of anybody that wrestles and pushes, has the cardio to push a wrestling heavy game plan and sticks to it and does it over and over again, does it consistently, and Blaydes absolutely fits that definition here. But it's a heavyweight fight. Heavyweight fights have crazy amounts of variance. It only takes one shot from either one of these guys to end the other one's night. And I think at this price, you might as well bet Daukaus because, I mean, my God, man, go back and watch the UFC performances from this guy. The Nascimento fight is spectacular, you guys. The shots that he's landing on this dude, his hands look so fast. He's countering. He's got power in both hands. When he lands his right, it's always right after he throws that left jab. And I mean, he throws in combination. He's fast. There are so many things to like here. And we still haven't seen him taken down in the UFC. So maybe he has cleaned up that part of his game. Maybe he's going to make it very difficult for Curtis not only to take him down, but to hold him down. And if he is able to achieve that, you got to believe it's just a matter of time before he finds Curtis's chin. And guess what? Every single time Curtis Blaydes has lost, he's been knocked out. But to be very, very fair to Curtis here, it was twice by Francis Ngannou and once by Derek Lewis, the literal knockout kings of the entire universe. So, yeah, this is a great main event, Brady.
Oh, yeah. I like this one quite a bit. Lou Betcha saying a Blaydes round 2 KO. We'll get the odds on that. Effie saying, what is the total? The total is set at 1.5, which, kind of surprised me. I was thinking maybe they would do it at like 3.5 around there. But yeah, 1.5. The over 1.5 is minus 210, and the under 1.5 is plus 170. I think it does go over, but I don't want to lay minus 210 on a heavyweight over with where both guys can finish. Any thoughts on the total there, Weezy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not touching the total. The fight doesn't go to decision right now is comically mispriced on two different websites. Like right now, fight doesn't go on 5 dimes is minus 210, and fight doesn't go on Bet Online is minus 350. So right now, you could bet the fight goes to decision at plus 275 on Bet Online, and bet the fight doesn't go at minus 210 on 5 dimes and make free money. But for some reason, if you believe the green arrows on best fight odds, they're actually saying that there's money coming in on the fight goes to decision at plus 160. Doesn't make any sense, dude. This fight should finish inside the distance 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, 5-round fight. I mean, 100% of these guys' 7 combined losses have been inside the distance. I mean, it would be wild if this went the full 5.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think there's even value on the minus 350 fight doesn't go, but yeah, minus 210 on 5 dimes. Like it makes no sense. And yeah, like you said, there's money coming in on the fight goes. So I'm hoping, usually we'd have the FanDuel lines by now. By the show, we'd have maybe the DraftKings main event as well. But I'm hoping they get a good line on the fight doesn't go. And I also talked to you about potentially doing maybe a fight won't start round 3, fight won't start round 4. And then maybe hedging with like a Blaydes, round 4, round 5, those props like that. Let's take a look at those, by the way. We have Daukaus to win in round 1 is plus 600. Daukaus to win in round 2 plus 900. Daukaus to win by first round KO is plus 9 or plus 875. Daukaus to win round 2 KO plus 1200. Blaydes to win in round, we'll say round 2 plus 500, round 3 plus 700. Round 4 plus 1,000 and round 5 plus 2,000. They're not juicing it up as much as I'd like, but I'm sure FanDuel will be sure to do that. See if I missed anything in the chat. I saw that Lou's saying Daukaus round 5 submission plus 5,500. Book it, huh?
Ship it, man. That's easy money, you guys. I mean, usually 55-1 props are difficult to hit. This one should be priced at like minus 250. I mean, it's virtually a lock.
That is
a fight that's going to finish inside of 3 rounds 98% of the time. Yeah, I'm not going to be touching that one, but those kind of props are so much fun because like even if it goes to the 5th round, it's like you've paid it off. It was like when I bet Jai Herbert by 2nd and 3rd round KO. And when that fight went to the 2nd round, I was like, fucking A. It's like I already won the bet. I mean, I've got a 25-1 shot and we're here. And he actually landed a couple good shots. But, man, Topuria's got a hell of a chin. But
I thought you had that bet in the bag.
Yeah, man, I thought I had it, too. But, it's nice when you can get those really fat props and then you actually have a chance to cash it, when it gets to that round. It's nice. It's fun. But this fight, dude. If this fight got out of the 3rd round, I'd be like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, me too. I mean, it'd be the first time Daukaus has seen a fourth, the first time Daukaus has seen a fifth, and like I said, he has won a decision. He's been to the third round once. Daz saying TKO all day. Any chance for a sub? So yeah, Daukaus is a black belt in BJJ. Looks like Daukaus by submission is plus 1100 to open up plus 1200. So some money's coming in on that. I mean, anything can happen, right? We saw Aspinall get that submission. He's a black belt. Daukaus is a black belt. Any chance you think Daukaus can sub him here?
Well, it's just, I mean, of course there's a chance, but like, I think a sharp way to get a little bit better than the fight doesn't go to decision is just pick fight ends by KO, because all we have to do is look at those stats to see that neither one of these guys, as a professional mixed martial artist, has ever won a fight by submission. 35 combined fights between the two of these guys, 21 combined finishes, not one submission. So, like, let's say fight doesn't go is minus 300, but fight ends by KO is like, say, minus 250. I think you got to jump on that fight ends by KO, because you're getting that 50 cents better. And if you were to lose that bet, it would be the first time that either one of these guys has finished a fight by submission as a pro.
Yep, that's a good point. I wish we could see those lines, but yeah, FanDuel
not out
taking
yet.
their time.
That's surprising, dude. They're usually out by now.
Yeah, maybe they're taking the week off or something. I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
Even though there's a week off next week, so I don't get it. But Dixon in the chat saying, I trust Blaydes' chin here. He was only truly KO'd by Lewis, and Lewis can KO a Rhino. That is true. Yeah. The first KO loss to Francis was because of his eye. Yep, that was a doctor stoppage. The second KO was a weird stoppage. He was not completely out in that fight as well. But yeah, he was definitely out in the Lewis fight. So yeah, he does have a good chin, but yeah, Daukaus can definitely crack. Fight to end in ball shot is plus 2,800, and you never know. Some yen bags going on. Effie saying, feels like Curtis is going to plow right through Chris. Hot take. It's very hot take there. Let's see if there's anything we missed out in terms of the other odds. So we talked about the fight doesn't go. Minus 210 on 5 dimes is atrocious line. I wish I had access to that. I'd be smashing it. Curtis Blaydes by KO minus 110. Curtis Blaydes inside the distance minus 145. Daukaus by decision plus 1,200 on 5 dimes, plus 950 on Bet Online there. Daukaus by KO plus 425, and then Daukaus inside the distance is plus 300. Any of those sticking out?
Daukaus by KO does stand out. I mean, I do think that Curtis Blaydes is going to win this fight, but I mean, if you look at Chris Daukaus's win condition, look, 4 wins in the UFC, right, Brady? Yeah. 3 of them in the first round, and Abdurrahimov could have easily been stopped there in the first round as well. So I think, at plus 425, that KO prop is interesting, but you're probably going to get plus 500 or better on the other sites, because he's a big underdog already. So I think that's a really good way to bet this fight. I think Daukaus is very live to get a knockout. He touches your chin, you're in trouble in this division, because he is very accurate. He's got very fast hands, and he's very powerful. So I like that bet. And then also, I mean, if you think about it, first round KO for Daukaus at like plus 800. Yeah, I mean, I don't see how you turn that down. This guy's hurt everybody in the first round, not named Derek Lewis. So, and even Derek Lewis was trying to wrestle him, So, hell, I mean, that, it's something you can do for an eighth of a unit or a quarter of a unit to win one. It's not bad, man. That's a good way to have a low exposure way to play this fight, which is going to be fun to watch anyway. But I got to predict Blaydes to win this fight by ground and pound knockout. I mean, that's just how he gets it done.
Yeah, I got to agree there. So, yeah, we talked about the tail of the tape. We do see that, Blaydes is going to have a slight advantage there, younger, height and reach advantage. We talked about the experience. Blaydes is going to have the advantage there. We talked about the finish stats, Daukaus advantage there, the striking, pretty close, but you probably got to favor the power of Daukaus. The grappling obviously goes to Blaydes. We talked about the strength of schedule as well, which is pretty comparable. Wheezy, what is your favorite bet for this fight? And then what is your final prediction? What round, what method?
I'll tell you, man, if I had exposure to 5 dimes and I could get that fight doesn't go at that price, that would be a max bet for me. It would be an easy max bet. But I think fight doesn't go at anything better than minus 300 is definitely parlayable, definitely bettable, and I would be shocked if it didn't cash. when you see heavyweights in a 5-round fight and you've got a 7-fight sample size of combined losses and 100% of them are inside the distance, man, I got to tell you, that is the best bet of this fight. I think the cheekiest bet of this fight, first round KO for Chris Daukaus at plus like 825 or 850. And you might even do better than that on FanDuel or DraftKings when they open those lines. But the prediction is going to be Curtis Blaydes by like a second or a third round ground and pound knockout.
Yep, I totally agree. No hot take for me here. I think Blaydes is going to take down Chris Daukaus. I think he's going to kind of break him as the fight goes on and eventually get him out of there. Yeah, I'll say a second or third sounds about right. Yeah, but the bet I'm looking at is going to be some type of violence bet, whether it's the fight doesn't go to decision. Wish I can get that minus 210. We'll see where DraftKings and FanDuel puts it out at. Maybe a fight won't start round 4, a fight won't start round 5, just something along the lines of that. Maybe an alternative under. I know they have the over-under set at 1.5 right now. Maybe look at the under 3.5, the under 4.5. So usually we'd have these props by now, but we don't have them yet. So I'll have to be looking at those throughout the week. But yeah, I think violence is the answer in this fight. We talked about it. Both guys, very good finishers. Both guys have been finished in all their losses, all 7 of them. And Daukaus is live to knock out Blaydes. I mean, it would not completely shock me. For one, this is a heavyweight fight. And for two, Daukaus is no joke on the feet. This guy has a ton of power. He's very fast. And Blaydes has been knocked out before. But yeah, I got to go Blaydes here. I'm not going to be playing the money line with Blaydes or nothing like that. And I'm not doing a parlay this week, I don't think. But I will be picking Blaydes as far as the pick goes. But the bet is going to be some type of violence bet, Weezy.
Yeah, violence bet is one I'm going to be hunting for as well. And if I get something close to minus 210, you can guarantee your Uncle Wee's going to be slamming the shit out of that. So really hoping it opens up on FanDuel and DraftKings at a really nice number, and I'll be hitting it hard. If not, I'll be looking at the KO prop for Daukaus, the first round KO prop for Daukaus, and then keeping an eye on potentially parlaying the fight doesn't.
Yeah, I think we lost Weezy. Are you there?
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, no.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Cutting out a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I'm going to bring you out and bring you back in, but let's see.
Yeah. I'm going to be looking at
we got through it anyway. So there, no, we still don't have you.
Hello?
It's all right. We're all done anyway. So that's about it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like on the way out. Subscribe as well. Here, I think we're like 14 subs away from 300 subs. So subscribe. And Biker Boy, this is a live stream. There we go. So that's about it, guys. Best of luck for UFC Columbus. We'll talk to you soon.